saan ka, where's your place of origin, and saan ka naka-encounter ng cultural differences sa kausap mo?
Okay. Taga Manila kami, laking tondo. Pero, ang mga magulang namin ay mga taga Pampanga. Pero, nag-meet up sila or nagkakilala sila sa Manila. So, sa Manila sila nag-set up ng family nila. Tapos, from there, nagsasalita sila, nag-uusap sila ng dialect nila which is di Kapampangan. Yung mga tsuhin ko, titos and titas ko, lola ko, pag nakikita-kita sila, silang magpipinsan, lahat Kapampangan kung mag-usap. Lalo na, pag meron silang sikretong ayaw iparinig sa iba.
So by that time, hindi mo pa naiintindihan?
Ano?
Hindi ko pa naiintindihan nung bata ka?
Nung bata pa ako, hindi ko pa naiintindihan. Pero unti-unti, dahil nga lagi sila nag-uusap, tsaka nagtatanong kami sa nanay ko at sa tatay ko, ano ibig sabihin ng yung pinag-uusapan nila.
So, mayroon bang ibang barrier na na-encounter ka kapag nakikipag-usap ka sa ibang tao na taga Pampanga?
Hindi naman masyado kasi nga, natuto kami sa nanay ko at sa tatay ko. Hindi man kami fluently nakakapagsalita ng dialect nila, pero pagka nandun kami sa Pampanga, nakakapagsalita kami unti-unti. Naiintindihan din namin yung sinasabi nila kahit na fluent silang magkapampangan at kami hindi masyadong fluent.
May mga factor ba na naka-influensya sa'yo kaya naging literate ka sa pagkakausap sa ibang dialekto? Ano yung mga factors, mga naka-influensya sa'yo?
Siyempre, pagka umuwi ng Pampanga, kasi pag nung bata pa kami, pag sara ng klase, pag bakasyon na, automatic yon dinadala kami sa Pampanga. Doon kami nagbabakasyon. So, siyempre, yung mga kalaro mo, Kapampangan, so matututo ka lang masyado ng Kapampangan.
From your place of origin to your place of migration, what are the adjustments? At saan ka nag-adjust na para maka-interact ka sa mga local?
Pagka naman nasa Manila kami Tagalog. Pag nasa Pampanga, Kapampangan. Pero dito sa Manila, pagka nasa Manila ka na or nasa bahay namin, may mga neighborhood naman kami, mga neighbor namin na same na as Kapampangan. Hindi man lahat, pero marami sila.
Based on your experience and perspective, will your knowledge about intercultural communication help you interact better with other people from different cultures?
Oo naman, wala namang problema kung ibang lengguwahe mo eh. May common language naman kayo.
So, ano yung suggestion mo sa ibang tao na para ma-enhance yung pag-intindi nila at sa abilidad nila na makipag-communicate nga sa ibang dialekto?
Siyempre, maganda yung bilingual ka. Kasi sa Pilipinas, napakarami ng dialect natin. The more na marami kang alam, the more na better or much better. Diba? Kagaya natin, although we're Filipino, hindi man Chinese surname tayo, pero hindi tayo marunong mag-Chinese. Pero may mga words naman na medyo naiintindihan natin na mas maganda sana kung makakapag-communicate tayo ng other languages or other dialects pa bukod dun sa dialect na kinalakihan mo. Kagaya ng mga Bicol, sa mga Bicolano, yung mga naging house helper namin is Bicolano. So, may mga dialect, may mga language, let's say, yung pag-uusap nila ng mga Bicolano, may mga naiintindihan kami kasi nga, naririnig na namin sila na nagsasalita at natututunan namin yung mga dialect nila.
Thank you sa interview. Kaway ka sa kanan.
Question number 1. Where is the place of origin and where did you encounter cultural differences between you and the person you are interacting to? So my place of origin is Honduras and it is located in Central America, between the North and the South America. And I encounter cultural differences here in the Philippines because the culture is quite different from coming from Latin America to Asia. Number 2, were there any barriers that you have encountered when you interact with someone who has a different culture from you? If yes, what are the barriers? If no, what could possibly be the reason why there are no barriers? So, for me, yes, there were several barriers that I encountered when interacting with the Filipino people here in the Philippines. And one of them was language barrier, because I didn't know how to speak English or Filipino. I just knew some phrases in English. And next was the customs. I was having a hard time getting the customs here, because it was some of the practices that we didn't do back in our country, like the blessing of the hand. We do blessing, but it's, you don't put your hand into a person to show respect. You put your hands together like in a way you're going to pray, and then you bow. So that was different for me, as well as the saying of po and opo, because I didn't understand how it worked. I didn't understand the use of it. But yeah, of course, as time went by, I got the hang of it and started adapting to using it as well. And also the saying of ate and kuya. For me, it was so hard to adapt, because it kuya meant brother and ate meant sister, right? So they would tell me to tell this certain stranger kuya or ate, even though they weren't even my relative. And so it was kind of weird for me to adapt. It was hard for me, but now I'm used to it. And also behavioral barrier, because in different places we all think differently, and we have been taught differently by our ancestors. So of course it's very different from in Latin America, where we have very short temper and we want things to be done quickly, and we are very strict. We are very strict when it comes to life. And in here in the Philippines, it's not as strict. And also the politics is different as well in our country and in here in the Philippines. And last but not least, for me, culinary barrier, because food is something that you have to encounter daily, 3 times a day. And when I first came here, it was such a shock for me to adapt the food, because it's very different. There is usually bitter or sweet, and there are some that I really liked, but the rest were very hard to adapt. And so food and taste is very different from our country. Question number 3, are there any factors that influenced you in your literacy with intercultural communication? What are those and why? So, some factors that influenced my literacy skills would be my tone of voice, because when I speak a certain language, or I when I speak a certain language, I have a different tone. What I've heard from my friends, that they aren't used to me speaking in this language, or that I sound different, and my rate of speech. This is also because of the language I speak at times, depending on what I'm saying or what language I'm using. No, and third, projection. So I think this one would have to be for what emotion I'm trying to express in each language, or how I want what I'm saying to be portrayed. And third, knowledge, because of course when you know different languages, you understand how they work and how you can form different sentences or words, or translate them to a different language, and how you can use them in a way that you will not offend someone, knowing what the meaning of some of the words you're saying. How knowing languages really helps me in analyzing words, like let's say from because my mother language is Spanish, right? So at times when I would read Filipino, and there are some words that I can recognize that are influenced or have Spanish influence, of course I can automatically know a root word, or I can identify a meaning of it. Question number 4. From your place of origin to your place of migration, or the place you have traveled, what are the adjustments that you made when you interact with the locals in that place? So the adjustments that I've made to, or I've done to interact with locals, are adapting, respecting, and practicing the customs, culture, and accepting the differences. So, and also trying to learn or gain more information about the place. Fifth question, based on your experience and perspective, with your knowledge about intercultural communication, help you interact better with other people from different cultures? Why do you think so, and what are your suggestions for people to enhance one's understanding and ability in intercultural communication and interaction? So, based on my experience, my knowledge about intercultural communication has helped me interact better with people from different cultures, because I have adapted and experienced the different cultures. Not many, but I understand that there are differences, in which opens my mind into understanding and comprehending their traditions that lead to effective and appropriate communication with people of their cultures. It also helps take into consideration one's cultural norms and the best appropriate, comfortable way of communicating with the person you're interacting with. And my suggestion for people to enhance one's understanding and ability in intercultural communication and interaction would be to be open-minded. For you should be willing to listen to ideas that are never that are new, that are new or different from your own. And you should be accepting for you to be able to interact with that person. You shouldn't be ignorant because that person is different from you. You should be friendly and you should be approachable for them to have someone to like relate to in a way, or just share information. Third would be respect. You should be respectful of the person you're talking with. You should have your boundaries of what things you should say. Like, let's say when you're talking with someone who knows a different language, and then you're trying to relate with them by speaking their language, but then it will turn out to them as if you're mocking them or something like that. So you have to be aware of your actions and your words. And fourth, I think you should know the cultural difference, because there are times that there are words that are misunderstood in different languages, that or like have a different meaning in a different language. Like, let's say in this language this means something good, but then in this other language it's a bad word, or it means something bad, and then it will somehow offend the person you're interacting with. So you have to be aware of cultural difference, and just be kind and accepting to the different cultures. And that's it.
My place of birth is in the Philippines at Bataan. Being in a country with a rich population of migrants from all over the world, I think that the biggest cultural difference that is obvious is the fact that people in the Western world do not use honorifics. Elders are referred to just by their first names. Another difference is that young adults learn to become independent at a very young age. Teenagers here in Australia can get a job as young as 14 years old with the consent of their parents. Moving out of their parents' home by the age of 18 is also not shone upon unlike in the Philippines, and in most cases are supported by their parents. Having been raised in a country in which English is taught at a very young age and where people have good commands of written and verbal communication has been a great foundation when moving into an English-speaking country. Because of this, I did not feel any barriers when verbally interacting with other individuals from different cultures. As mentioned before, the biggest factor which helped the communication is the fact that English was taught at a young age. It also helped that Australia has only one language, which is English, unlike in the Philippines having a different dialect in every state. One of the biggest adjustments made when settling into Australia was the need to learn their way of speaking. I've had to change my accent to match theirs, as without doing so, it would prove to be a challenge for them to understand me and vice versa. It was also crucial to learn the Australian slang, as it was heavily used by locals in their everyday lives. For instance, if a mate was to ask you to meet them during the arvo for some barbie without the knowledge of their slang, it would be difficult to understand them. On the side note, this basically just translates to their friend wanting to see you during the afternoon for some barbecue. I suppose with more awareness and knowledge of other people's culture, people will become more accepting and communications will improve. The more culture people are open to, people are more inclined to become more open-minded and accepting. For example, in the Philippines, being vocal is often characterized as being rude or disrespectful, whereas in Australia, young adults are heavily encouraged to have opinions and to express them openly without going in circles.
Hello, my name's Mark and I'm from the Philippines. I have been working in Japan for the past 2 years or so, and I've been encountering some cultural differences with the Japanese counterparts I am dealing business with. Yes, definitely. One main barrier that I have encountered is language barrier, especially among the Japanese, since not all Japanese people can speak or understand English fluently. Since the main barrier is language, the main adjustments that I have made are focused on how I deal and how I communicate with them. I try to learn their mannerisms, I try to learn how they speak the words, and eventually that helped me how I communicate with them and how I understand what they are saying. Since the main barrier is language, the main adjustments that I have made are focused on how I deal and how I communicate with them. I try to learn their mannerisms, I try to learn how they speak the words, and eventually that helped me how I communicate with them and how I understand what they are saying. Yes, definitely. Once you know more about their communication and culture, it helps you understand more, and it helps you in a way effectively communicate what you need to say and what you need to hear from them. Well, before encountering people with a different background of culture, I suggest you research some basic cultural differences with that country or with that type of people, and then once you interact with them, you can apply them so that you will have a smooth conversation and avoid unnecessary complications in your communication.
I am from the Philippines and I have encountered cultural differences in Malaysia and South Korea. Yes, as expected, the most common cultural barrier is the language since both countries I went to are not English-speaking countries. Yes, I think print, mainstream, and mostly social media. Since we are living in the era of internet, these are great factors that influence me and my literacy in intercultural communication. I learned about other countries' language and their culture through magazines, news, vlogs, and even dramas on the internet. As a foreigner to a foreign land, we had to make adjustments to their language and culture. To be understood, we must learn their language or at least speak in a way they can understand us easily. We must speak slowly or speak the way they speak in English. We must adapt to their tone, expression, construction of sentence, and even pronunciation. We must talk the way they talk, greet the way they greet, eat the way they eat, respect the cultural differences, and obey their laws. Yes, it is a great help having knowledge in intercultural communication to live in harmony with them and not being misunderstood. If people plan to go to other country, it is better to enhance their intercultural communication skills through reading and studying about their culture, language, religion, and their values. In that way, they will have less difficulties in communicating and interacting with them. They will enjoy their travel and gain more knowledge and good memories.
I'm from Batangas, and basically speaking, as a student, upon going to different places, I've seen lots of differences between my culture and theirs. Example is here in De La Salle as I entered college, considering that our campus in Cavite. Our campus is in Cavite and I'm from Batangas. No, I think there is no barrier because based on what I experienced, as long as you have the knowledge and the skills on how you would approach someone, there would be no problem at all. I don't see any factor. I'm an observant person, that's why during the times I traveled in some places, I'm just first looking and observing them, the way they act, the way they communicate, or how they use their dialect if they have their own. And with that, I could adjust myself whenever I socialize with them. For me, it's a yes, because my knowledge and ideas about this issue could be an advantage for me when it comes to interaction and socialization with other people with different culture, because I can apply my understanding and knowledge towards the person that I will encounter. I think one thing I can suggest is to enhance the understanding and the ability in intercultural communication and interaction is to overcome your shyness and be confident enough to mingle and socialize with others.
I'm originally from Philippines and have migrated to Singapore for the last 11 years. There are a lot of cultural differences, especially with the language. Though most people here speak in English aside from their mother tongue, they often have their local Singlish or Singaporean English with a hard accent that take a lot of getting used to. As mentioned, it's the language barrier with the Singlish accent that I must adapt to. I see the general office or workplace ethnicity has placed a lot of impact on my exposure and over some time. My basic understanding of one of the major local language, Mandarin. It may be due to the regular interactions I have with Mandarin-speaking colleagues and clients that makes me familiar with their language more than other local languages like Malay or Tamil. A major adaptation that I have acquired was speaking with their Singlish accent that made people often wonder if I was indeed a local like them. Definitely, being able to assimilate with them, especially on the language aspect, makes it a lot easier to interact and enjoy living overseas as a migrant. Just by giving effort on learning their basic local words and greetings goes a long way to help you open a possibility of them communicating with you on an equal footing like in English language. People often seem more enthusiastic to adjust to your level of communication, especially if you initiate to converse a basic line in their mother tongue.
I am from Philippines, and I encountered cultural differences when I went to Singapore to work for almost 7 years now. Yes, there is. It is the language barrier. Since most Singaporeans speak English but with different accent, I found it hard to understand at first. They have influenced my manner of speaking because you need to adapt the way they speak for better communication and understanding. I have adjusted on how I communicate with them with the Singlish accent. Yes, it would help. You need to study and learn their language, culture, and origin for better communication and interaction.
My place of origin is in the Philippines and I encountered cultural differences at the airport in Malaysia. Yes, their attitude and how they interact also in communication. It is hard to express what I want to convey. Yes, this factor includes their language, customs and tradition, and their education. Upon arrival, you should know their attitude common to you. You must express and inform them the place you came from so that they can refer you to an expert, especially their language. Based on the experience, we must learn places where you will not have barriers. We also need to know their language and try to help them understand what you want to share or know.
My place of origin is the country of the Philippines, and I went on a tour in Malaysia wherein I was able to interact with Malay people and Chinese people. These people are that good in English for their culture does not focus on learning the said language that much. The barrier that I encountered is the language barrier. The factors that influenced my literacy in intercultural communication were my knowledge of reading the gestures and the tone of the people. I twisted my use of the English language wherein instead of saying proper sentences, I just connect the base form of words such as verbs to form understandable phrases for them. Knowledge about intercultural communication will certainly aid me to better interact with people from cultures different from mine. This is because I can use this knowledge to have a deeper understanding on the intercultural differences. In this way, I can find better ways of adaptation wherein I can communicate effectively by lessening the intercultural barriers for communication.